Welcome to the Au Jus. I'm your host, Beef Loaf. This show is being sponsored by our friends, Punky's Pizza and Pasta, located at 2600 South Wallace, my personal favorite eatery in the neighborhood. They have the best selection of pizzas and pastas as well as sandwiches and salads of any spot in Bridgeport. Currently, they have a terrific Monday nights only special. One medium cheese pizza for $12.99. No promo codes, no minimums. Just place the order after 3 p.m. and you get one medium cheese pizza for $12.99. Toppings can be added, but at their normal prices. Hit the website, punkyspizza.com, for all your carry-out or delivery needs, or to cater your next party. And the holidays are coming up, so catering is huge. You can also call 312-842-2100. The Scarlotta family will take care of you. Punky's Pizza and Pasta. This show is also powered by you, the loyal one-night supporter. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Feel free to tickle the undercarriage in the process. Like, comment, turn on notifications, and most definitely super chat, because that's how we get paid. It's how we continue to make the content you know and love. Tonight's guest. He's the host of the 108 podcast, and from a South Side point of view, he's the star of the Sunday Soak. And finally, he's the bong in this reggae song, Treasy E. Welcome to the Au Jus.
What's up, Beef?
Nothing. I was getting a little verklempt there. I got a little hoarse there when I was in the middle of the ad read. It usually doesn't happen to me. I'm pretty strong getting there.
You thinking about that delicious food?
Bro, the Panzer. Last week I had an MSS on here. He's talking about the Panzerotti. I was like, the Panzerotti's 3 meals. For me, it's 3 meals. I can't take it down in one meal.
It's awesome.
It's great.
I think we should try and do that one day. Just try and take down a full Panzerotti each. Let's see how it goes.
It's not going to go well. Is our good friend of the show, Patrick Bertoletti, going to come and do it with us or what?
Oh, man. How fast do you think he could eat that?
3 minutes. I don't know. Something fast.
I was thinking like 3-4 minutes.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I'm sure it's something. It's something to behold. I'm sure it's absolutely something ridiculous. Well, thanks for joining me, Treasy. We're going to be doing this for the next 3 weeks in a row as we start our series, White Sox Trade with Every Team. Real quickly, just the impetus for us doing this. I'll put up on the screen. A long time ago, I was listening to an interview with legendary poker professional Phil Ivey, and the interviewer asked him a question, and I'm paraphrasing it. How would you recommend a player learn to get better the fastest? And Phil said something to the effect of buying in a game at much lower stakes than you'd normally play, and then play every single hand for an hour. Try and figure out how you would play in all these different situations and positions that you're normally not taught to play in. So basically, chuck the normal advice and try to learn how to do everything. And so Treasy and I, for the last 4 years, have been doing this with White Sox trades with every team. And we try to develop a reasonable trade that could be made with absolutely every team in the league. I think for us, it's more of an exercise of learning what the other team's needs are, learning the other team's farm systems a little bit better, and then also looking in with the White Sox is like, how could you solve some of the problems that the White Sox currently have? Treasy, does that kind of cover what you get out of the exercise?
Yeah, I think it's like a great kickoff to the offseason, right? Because I think a lot about what the Sox need. I don't think about what the Cardinals need, right? And so like when you start to look at that, you start to really hone in on the depression that you're going to have for the offseason while you see these other teams target and acquire free agents. But we could dream about trading those players to them and getting stuff in return. And that's the exercise here. But it really is a good way to look at these teams, to look at like who they have, who's blocked. You know,
right.
The Rule 5 people that's so interesting to me. I think they need to fix that draft to get some more movement around the league for some of these guys, because some of these guys are buried, man. Like, it's crazy. Like, you could look at a guy and go, this guy could play on the White Sox right now. I know they're a terrible team, but he could play on the White Sox right now, but he's 15th in this position for this team, right? And, like, so that's the kind of thing that I think, like, the league could improve on in how they do the Rule 5. But, yeah, I mean, like, for me, that's the point, is to like understand all the other teams going into the offseason when we're going to see a lot of movement. We're going to see a lot of people trying to outspend each other. And it's a really weird situation with a lot of these teams. Some situations that I wasn't really even privy to until I started like going down the road of like, what can we trade with this team?
Exactly. Well, you mentioned Rule 5 guys, and also, guys that are out of options too, where they're in a spot where like, oh, they might not get playing time or whatever, and they're kind of at the edge of a roster. You know, Getz did some of that last year, and people kind of complained about him doing that with the trade with the Aaron Bummer or whatever. I think it's totally fine to do. until your 40 man is in tip top shape. Take a lot of those gambles and give yourself a shot there. And I think he was very transactional last year. A lot of it didn't work, but I at least applaud the approach and the approach to add depth to the organization in total, which I think was accomplished last year to some degree, maybe not as much as we'd like to. And so eyeing up these trades, it gives you the opportunity to look, okay, well, that person might not be a great fit for that team, but here, that person would start at this position, or that person would get a lot of plate appearances and moving around our outfield or something like that. So it does have you kind of thinking a little more in the GM's mind, and it's just fun. It's fun to do fake fucking trades. I mean, I think it is, Trees. You think it's fun?
I enjoy this. This is like one of my favorite exercises that we do all year, and like honestly, if we weren't doing this on the show and doing it in the blog, we would be talking about this somewhere. Like we'd be sitting at a bar or something talking about this. This came up. I went out twice this weekend, which is not normal during my like busy season.
Right.
But our guy Sammy was in town on Friday, and then our friend Jason had a Halloween party on Saturday. And so in both arenas, people want to talk sports, people want to talk Sox, and like I'm kicking around trades that I didn't even have in here. Like, just thinking about trying to think through that stuff.
Absolutely. Let's get to a couple drinks quick before we get to the first trade. Stephen Bardo, Husky, what's up, brother? He says, cheers, fellas.
Cheers,
a lot of fire emojis. Thank you, Husky Bardo. And then Jason Wagner says, thank you for the drink, says, an annual tradition I actually look forward to. Thank you.
Cheers,
appreciate
Jason.
that. And that's right, Trey. It is the beef and the silver fox right now.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Let's get to trade number one. This is my trade. We're uneven today because there's 9 trades. I've got 5. You've got 4. So we'll flip flop. We'll crisscross this biatch. Trade number one is a White Sox trade with the Cincinnati Reds, and I have the White Sox sending the once powerful Andre Vaughn, Andrew Vaughn, going to the Reds for Carlos Jorge and Christian Roa. And now my thought process here, Teresi, is I don't necessarily think Andrew Vaughn is an easy player for the White Sox to trade. I know you pretty much agree with that sentiment after we've only gone through 2 divisions and we're like, it's tough to find a hole for him.
We've traded him twice in these, so like it's. Yeah.
I think that's probably all we're going to get out of him. I'd be shocked if we get a third trade out of him. But my thought process here was basically this: the Reds are one of the few teams out there that had just atrocious performance from the first baseman. They had a 70 WRC plus for the entire year. I mean, at the end of the year, they were trotting out the corpse of Ty France. And like just hoping that they get some production from that. So like Vaughn would be a fit there because he would uplift the batting prowess at that position. The other thing that's interesting with Vaughn is I looked up on Baseball Savant, and Vaughn had 19 home runs in 2024. But if he had played every single game at Great American Ballpark, Treasy, he would have hit 30 home runs. So the ballpark is a great fit for what he does. And
turn a doubles hitter into a home run hitter.
Yeah, those power alleys are short and they're forgiving. And so sometimes there is player fits where, remember Didi Gregorius hit 1 million home runs when he went to the Yankees. Yeah. This was a great fit for him as a hitter, right? And so Vaughn does have some of these fits across the league where they would be better and where it's a team that does have a lot of power to begin with, and it doesn't depend on the first baseman to be like a huge power hitter. I mean, you saw even the successful years when they had Joey Votto. Votto was not that giant of a power hitter. He did have some nice power seasons, but and so for the return for the White Sox, Carlos Jorge is like a stubby, strong-looking
there we go.
Center field prospect. He's 21 years old. There's some swing and miss in the profile, but the power is already kind of activated and getting there. So, I realized, Treasy, when I was going through this, and you'll see it across like what I've traded, and probably when we get all the way to the end. Basically, what I'm trying to trade for is just I need Alejandro De Aza back. Remember prime Alejandro De Aza? That's all I need in any trade. I'll go for it. And that's what he reminds me of. He's a little smaller than De Aza, but it's the kind of thing where there's enough power in the profile, there's enough speed in the profile. Probably not a great center fielder, but okay in center field, just like kind of like that level of player. And I just think the White Sox are fucking missing that guy. So you get that as a return. Now, he doesn't need to be added to the 40-man until after the 2025 season. He just finished his season high A. So he's a little ways from the major, so he's a 21-year-old. The other part of the trade and I'll bring the I'm going to bring the image back up just so people watching can see it. Is Christian Roa. Now Christian Roa is kind of like central casting for the Bannister crew. The secondaries are very good. Roa would be a candidate for the 40-man already, but it's another reclamation project. It's another. Can you get the command down? Can you get the fastball to be enough of anything to work out of the bullpen? That sort of thing. And so with a lot of the deals we do, especially kind of lower ones like this, I want a flyer arm in there because I think that's what the White Sox do well. And if they could turn it into something great. What are your early thoughts on my Andrew Vaughn to the Reds?
So let me start with Roa. I like this. I like keep adding arms, right? I think that's one thing that you can do in a lot of these trades is like add that extra arm at the end that they'll go like, fine, we're never going to pitch this guy. We have a complete team. We're not going to pitch this guy anytime soon.
Right.
You can have him and then see what happens with that guy. With the center fielder, I know we're going to trade Luis Robert a few times, right? Like, so I'm just thinking of this outfield that we're assembling. Fletch, he's like 5'6".
Yes.
And I got a 5'9" guy.
Allegedly.
Like 5'9". He's 5'9", like Vaughn is 6 foot.
Exactly.
And then you've got Andrew Benintendi, be your tallest outfielder, right? Like, was he 5'10"?
Yeah, he's like 5'10".
So I think they're going to have to lower the wall, not so that they can make catches over the wall, but just so we could see all the guys. Just so we could see all the guys from the
Exactly.
So
that's fair.
Just a better view. But yeah, I mean, like, Beef, you're going to see this kind of throughout the trades that we make. There's going to be a lot of raw power prospects that we go after.
Yeah.
Because
that's right.
That's something that is like, you can't teach it. Right? Like it's very difficult to teach. Like you don't see a lot of guys come out and then they're like, oh, all of a sudden they became this power hitter. And when they didn't do drugs to do it. And those guys get suspended now, which is bullshit, but that's for another time.
That's life, you know?
But so I think I'm looking at it, like I'm looking at a lot of guys when I'm like looking at the fringe players of someone's like 40-man or of their top like 40, 50 prospects.
Yeah.
Like those fringe guys, I'm looking who could run into 15 home runs. Who could run into 20 home runs?
Agreed.
You know,
yes.
and like that's because we just watched a team that was miserable on the hitting side, and especially on the power side.
I totally agree. I love that thought process. It's a general thought process of what we're trying to do here, and I think you're right. We will see that throughout the trades. Figglesworth says Beef trading Vaughn, big surprise there. It's nothing against Andrew. All right, and Mrs. Beef says great AV pick. Yeah, I mean this is like this is a cherry pick. Look at the hairline, Jesus. It's not even that good anymore. Last I checked. So
Beef, I think we got to take a drink here. We got to take a drink. He would have tipped. Gordo would have tipped.
Gordo would have tipped.
So
Gordo.
Cheers, Gordo.
Thank you, Gordo. Cheers, my friend. And then Just Galaxy, Tamiana says, well, how much faith I have in the Bannister Cats factory. Wouldn't mind seeing Gets trade away some arms to grab some hitting. We'll get there.
We're gonna do that.
We'll get there, friend. So, all right, next up, and you want to handle imagers, or do you want me to handle them, Treasy, for your trade?
Oh, I can handle it. That's fine.
All right, you got it.
Was this St. Louis?
St. Louis, yep. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So this is the first of the many Garrett Crochet trades we'll make. Now, one thing that I'm going to try and stick to limit the amount of teams I trade Garrett Crochet to is I'm going to limit this to teams that I believe are going to be in the running for Blake Snell. Like if you're willing to go after Blake Snell, you're willing to trade real guys for Garrett Crochet.
Makes sense.
So that's how just this isn't like something that I go by in like actual real life how it would go down. It's what I'm using to limit myself from trading Garrett Crochet to every team.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a group we're trying to limit how much we trade Crochet, limit how much we trade Robert to really push ourselves in this exercise.
Yeah, and this one is one where I see this as me as a fan going, if we're going to make this trade, if we're going to trade Garrett Crochet, I want to get stuff back that is soon going to be playable in the major leagues, if not right now. Now, obviously, they have to have more control. It doesn't make sense to get some guy that's like also gone in 2026, right?
Yeah.
But I want guys that are close to the majors or in the major leagues, and just don't fit on the roster. And that's kind of where I went here. So, and I went with two guys at the top of the trade that had down years last year. So Nolan Gorman, who's second base-ish for the Cards, but he ended up getting sent down last year, and it was just like a terrible OBP year out of him.
Yep.
But the guy's got power. He can play second base enough, right? Like, so you put him at second base, and it's Dan Uggla-ish, right? Like, it's like you can expect 20 home runs out of this guy. The batting average ain't going to be high, but like you could get 20 home runs out of your second baseman. You get 110 OPS plus type of guy at second base. And the second base, like, he's not great, but he's not terrible, right? Like he's passable at second base. It's not like you're gonna watch it and be like, oh man, this is I thought this guy was gonna at least be able to throw to turn a double play, but he can't even do that. He's fine. Like, so
he'll be like bad in the same vein that like Lenyn Sosa's bad. Like, it'd be okay, but you'll see like too much stuff where you're like, he should know better than that, and you'll
vomit a few times during the season watching him. But the home runs will make up for it. Victor Scott is on the exact opposite side of the spectrum, plus fielder.
Yeah,
like there's no doubt in my mind that you could plug this guy into any outfield position right now, and he's a plus outfielder for you. He's super fast.
Yeah,
I mean, think Billy Hamilton fast, right? Prime Billy Hamilton fast. But as you all know, you can't steal first base, and this is a problem. This is a problem with Scott, but it's worth the risk as the second guy in this trade, right? And then the other two guys, just to get to those, they're both fireballers, right? Like, so it's just two relief pitcher arms that throw real hard, and there's one of those things where you can possibly use them immediately, right? You could get them up pretty quickly and start to use them. Beef, this is the first Crochet trade out of the gates. I don't know if I undervalued him, overvalued him. I have no idea. I'm just being honest. Like, I think like Cardinals fans would be like, I don't want to trade Nolan Gorman.
Right.
But I think them getting Garrett Crochet would ease that away. Like the rest of the guys, I don't think Cardinals fans will have a big problem with. Yeah. But Gorman, there is a love for that guy. There is a lot of like, they saw what he could be. Like he's been the player that they wanted. He had a bad year, went down to the minors. I think there's still a lot of people that would be hesitant to trade him away and then see him become back to that player that he was.
Yeah, I think just eyeballing it, 10,000 foot view, I think that the third piece is probably a little softer than I was expecting.
Okay.
But otherwise, I think it looks fine. Gorman, I noticed with Gorman and Scott, you're doing something that I was thinking about when I think about this team and I think about making any trades or filling in anything here. We can take the advantage of the fact that a lot of teams, if they have a guy who's second base only, they don't like it. They don't like it because they want those guys to be flexible and be able to play more positions. And if they're like kind of a second base only guy, which Gorman kind of is, like they've flirted with a little bit third, but it's not really going to work. Teams they undervalue that guy. So you can kind of get that guy a little bit easier. Secondly, you were also probably thinking, at least subconsciously, if they trade Luis Robert, we don't have a fucking center fielder on the 40-man roster. No one that can handle the position at all. And you'll probably throw Fletcher out there, and he'll be below average, but not good. And it's like, looking at the thing, it's like, yeah, they stacked a lot of middle of the diamond players, but there's no true center fielder, and really there's no true shortstop out of those guys. So I don't know what kind of middle of the field guys we really got,
Yeah, that was, so my thought was that Beef. It was, and even if you keep Robert and Scott comes in, like, I got no problem. Like, if Victor Scott is playing well, moving Luis to right field and finally solving right field and saying, you know what? Take a little pressure off of Luis. And instead of two guys trying to run into him every game, there'll only be one.
Yes, absolutely. I love that idea. Next up, and I am going to get to trading Luis Robert right damn now, Treasy. is I made a trade with the Pittsburgh Pirates. I sent Luis Robert Jr. to the Pirates, and from the Pirates back, I'm getting 4 hitters. Okay, I went all hitters. We're so devoid here. But I think this is what the depressed market of Luis Robert Jr. will look like after the 2024 season. I've got Termarr Johnson, who is a top 100 prospect. He's a second baseman, shortstop. Although he might be a left fielder. We don't really know. I grabbed Nick York, who says second base outfield, but he's another one of these guys where it's like, it's not really a good second base. This guy might be a DH. I don't know. The guy does hit, though. The Pirates got him like a year ago in a trade from Boston. Jack Brannigan, who is more of a shortstop third baseman, who does have that big arm. Not sure how much contact he's going to make, but he hits the ball fucking hard. And then finally, last piece, Tony Blanco Jr. He's a first baseman, Teresi. He is absolutely fucking gigantic, like a 6'7"-ish guy. And he has huge power and huge strikeouts. And I just felt I needed to grab a guy who was similar in stature to George Wilco, so that he had a running mate down there in the minor leagues to work with. What do you think of trading for no real outstanding prospects, but a bunch of potential future hitters in a Luis Robert Jr. trade?
Oh man, I hate it. It.
That looks bad, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, but it's a good. To me, this is a good exercise of like, what could you actually get for Luis Robert right now? Right. And in this case, the Sox, who have no offense and are going to give away the majority of their offense in this trade, right, need a bunch of position players, need hitters, and me and you are on the same page about one thing. Gigantic power hitters, like gigantic in stature power hitters are on the list. But the idea is good of like bulk trade, get a lot of position players, see who hits. It's just it reinforces my thought that like while the Sox may want to trade Luis Robert this offseason, I'm not sure they could get what they want for Luis Robert.
Yeah, I agree.
This is a good example of like this would probably be doable. Like the Pirates would probably do this. Probably would go, okay, here, have all these guys. But would you want it? Would you want it in return for Luis? And like, we don't know that Luis is gonna bounce back, right? I mean, like we all expect it,
right?
But what if he doesn't, right? Like, so that is an option. So like, I get why a team would be hesitant to give you more, and this is the problem. And this is like when you start looking at these things closely. This is why we do this. When you start looking at these things closely, you're like, yeah, like we think everybody be after Luis Robert, but would they give up these top guys that they have in their farm system? Maybe not.
Maybe they wouldn't. Ian Eskridge says every single one of these guys strikes out a ton, but surely the White Sox system will fix them. Yeah. I was gonna say, I think the only guy out of the group that's not like a major strikeout risk is Nick York. Termarr Johnson was the 4th overall pick, and like all the tools are there and everything, but it just hasn't really gotten there as far as becoming the kind of star that they think he could be. And like some of the trade too was based on that. Like you're kind of buying a top end, a top pick right here that's not gotten to the height of their powers yet, and seeing if you can go in there. Like, but yeah, it doesn't. It looks ugly, right, Treasy? That looks ugly. You're like, well, we got a lot of stuff, but I don't know if it's any good stuff. And
like, imagine none of those guys panning out, right? Like you've traded Luis Robert for 4 guys, and none of them are anything for you. Like that's rough. That's a bad outcome.
Gary Kern says Luis played himself out of consideration of anything. Yeah, he kind of did. Like, have a year that bad. And here, we need to get to it too. The reason why the Luis bad year is so scary, it wasn't one of these years where he just got BABIP to death and it was a bad result there. And it was also not one of these years, well, he's just chasing the slider way too much, but he was still crushing the ball. It's just the strikeouts got out of control. No, it was the worst possible thing. The strikeouts were still the fuck out of control. He limited some of the chasing, but in return, he couldn't do anything with the middle balls. He's fouling them off or swinging right through them completely, and so it becomes an absolute gel himself. Still a good defender in center field, but you're not a superstar anymore. If you get that middle pitch and you don't blast it into left field.
The good defender thing and the amount of stolen bases that he was getting really point to the fact that like this guy is giving everything he has, which almost is a bad thing, right? Like, because you're like, if I could feel like he just gave up on the team, I might feel better about his next year.
Like the bounce back, you're like, oh, the bounce back's coming, because he wasn't trying that hard, but he was trying that hard. He just sucked. All right, Treasy, you want to hit up your Milwaukee Brewers trade?
Yeah. So this Beef, we talked about this a little bit, right? Like before the show, is like, there's nothing to trade from this White Sox team, and you're not really a buyer, so you can't do like a really good prospect for guys, and you don't have a lot of guys other than Luis and Garrett Crochet that you could demand a good amount of players for. So you're in this position of like, all right, what do I have a lot of, and how can I get what someone else has a lot of, and just kind of swap things to make things fit better, right?
Yeah.
And I think the Sox have a plethora of relievers. Like, are they all good? We don't know. Probably not. But they have enough
Probably not.
where you can probably see them fitting on another team, right? Especially when they have options and when they've shown some proficiency in the majors, which Jordan Leisure has. So I'm sending Jordan Leisure to the Brewers. The Brewers would seem like a perfect team for Leisure to end up in, and they find a really good way to utilize them out of the pen. They do that well. And then in return, we're getting Eduardo Garcia. Now, Eduardo Garcia is someone I looked at because he's one of these guys. He's Rule 5 eligible. The team has, even though they're losing Willy Adames, they have a bunch of shortstops, right? And like legit shortstops that they could play in that position. And there's Bryce Terang and there's Joey Ortiz on the roster currently.
Right. Yeah.
But then there's other guys that could play second base in that like what is it guy? Brooks Lee, is it? And then like there's a few other guys. And then way down the list is Eduardo Garcia. Right? And so what I looked at was looking at Fangraphs, and they made a Tim Beckham comparison. Right? So like acrobatic shortstop plus arm, and he's got some power. So it's like league average raw power is where they have him, right? But really good fielder. This seems like a guy that the Brewers are going to have trouble saying, let's put him on the 40.
Yeah.
And the Sox would have trouble saying, don't put him on the 26. He almost jumps right onto the team. Right? Like this guy could play Regulate and as his walk-up music, and you would be confident that he might be able to support it.
That's not very nice, because Jacob Amaya helped me in the steak dinner bet. All right,
I like Amaya. I like Amaya for the fielding, but there's no bat, right? Like, so like this is the kind of guy that could take the spot away from Amaya, is what I'm saying.
Let me ask this question, because every year we do this, I got like two trades where I look at your trade and I think, who the fuck would want Jordan? How do you think anyone want Jordan Leisure? You saw how he ended that year. And when he was good, he didn't strike nobody out, Treasy. So as you're thinking here, oh, maybe he was hurt kind of a lot longer than we thought, and because of the pedigree from the Dodgers, he's an easier sell than some of the other bullpen parts. Because I look at a Gus Varland end of that year, and he had like a 30% K rate, 4% walk rate. He was like really crushing it or whatever. I don't think they're ready to get rid of Prelander Burrow, but he looked pretty nice kind of towards the end of the year. Frazier Ellard, some of these guys. Why Leisure out of the bullpen guys?
Well, so it is the Dodgers and the slight good performance that we saw out of him this year. But also, like, I can't give much up for this because the Sox could just draft Garcia in the Rule 5. Like,
right. It's just that, he's at the edge of not being around anymore, basically.
Right. And it's one of those things where it's like the Sox could threaten that because they could put him on the 26, no problem. Like, there's not anyone blocking Eduardo Garcia from being on the 26, right? Like,
Ian Eskridge says not only does he pick it, but then he puts afterwards 5 walks, 76 Ks in advanced day. Okay, so I can see how. Okay, now this is making more sense to me.
This is not. I said Tim Beckham. This is not a perfect player.
Which I mean, hey, Prime Tim Beckham would work fine on this roster. I would take
15,
that all
15
day.
home runs,
Exactly.
hit 200, you know? Yeah.
Catch the ball short. That sounds good. I love it.
Shit, we had Tim Beckham a couple years ago.
Trace this will fit right in. We did have Tim Beckham. Remember before the season, we're like, oh, this is a sneaky NRI pickup. It didn't end up being anything. But, sometimes they stay so sneaky, you never even see them again the rest of the year. You know, it's a problem.
But yeah, that's why Leisure. I couldn't give much for this guy, and this is why he's blocked too, right?
Yeah,
like he's
right.
down on the charts. He's gonna be available in the Rule 5.
After talking through it, I like it a lot more because I would like the White Sox to have more guys there around that can just pick it, so they don't got to go out and try to get Nicky Lopez's for $4 or $5 million, right? I mean, It's better if you got that guy in the house who can just go pick it for league average and can spend the money on something more fruitful there. And I think that was the most embarrassing part of the Chris Getz. Well, we're going to improve the defense. You had nothing in the house to improve it. There was nothing. You can look in the cupboard. There was nothing to come up and play defense at any position. And so that was the most embarrassing part with all that shit.
Agreed.
All right, next up, I'm going to do yeah, Trey says, what about Superstar? Take him out. That's my guy. He helped me in the steak dinner bet. He could pick it.
They had to pick him up off the street though. Like I mean, like
yeah, exactly. He was out there. He wasn't on the team. He was a free agent. All right, next up, I'm going to make a trade with the Chicago Cubs. And you know what? We're going to start barreling a little bit here with this trade. So with the Chicago Cubs, I'm going to trade Noah Schultz to the Cubs for Matt Shaw. This is just high-end pitching prospect for high-end hitting prospect. And a couple thoughts here. The Cubs, they do not generally grow these types of pitchers. And they have had trouble the last decade growing them, which is why that last core stalled out because they couldn't get the pitching to come in behind it. Now, they've made some good signs and trades, and they do have a good rotation now, but they don't have anything like this. They don't have anything with the Noah Schultz kind of upside here. Conversely, on the Matt Shaw side, Treasy, he hits and he's kind of ready to be a major leaguer, but his natural position is second. They have Nico Horner there, who's a terrific defender and not displacing him. They were trying to teach him how to play third base, but apparently that was going so well that they had to make a trade at the deadline to get Paredes because they're like, well, you're not playing fucking third base for us. And so the Matt Shaw thing is really interesting to me because he's the caliber of hitter that would be helpful for the White Sox. He's kind of positionless, like we mentioned, like Nolan Gorman, similar type of guy, although Nolan Gorman's done at the major league level. And so this would be flipping top-end pitching prospect, top-end hitting prospect. What do you think?
So I think people are going to be mad at you and message you constantly because I traded Noah Schultz last year, and I think I even overpaid for what I was doing, but like people were just like, you can't trade that guy. He's like the perfect pitcher. And it's like, he's
fastball shape sucks, apparently. And it's
like,
that's a problem.
But at that point, he pitched like 29 innings. And like the Sox continue to like baby this guy. And like, I'm worried that like how long is it until we see Noah Schultz in the majors? Like, that's the only thing that concerns the Sox usage of him is just the most concerning thing to me. Like, if he's great, just fucking bring him up. Like, let's have him.
Well, he's
like,
not ramped up yet. Treasy was 80 innings this year or something like that.
Yeah, I know. I don't really get that either. Like, so like they're really taking it slow with this guy. Yeah. And I don't know why. Like, is there a concern that he like can't handle the load? Like he'll fall apart? Like, so like there's just, I don't know. Like, I would love Noah Schultz to be fucking awesome in the majors. Ian Esker's saying probably mid-late year. I'm guessing next year.
Yeah.
What tells you that though? Like, they've absolutely babied this guy through the minors. Like, you think that like he's half a year away? Like, and what does that half year look like? Is he like pitching like 3 innings an outing and like every 7 days?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Like, I like Noah Schultz. Let's put that out there. I think he is a very interesting prospect. I would love to see more of him. But the way the Sox have treated him so far, I would like to know what their plan is. And then think about like, okay, if your plan is that, like that he's going to, show up in 2027 after 5 years in the minors. Like I would trade him. Like you're wasting this guy.
Well, the timeline also looks like he says mid to late year. The timeline is also if everything goes perfectly. Wasn't the timeline Colson Montgomery will be here by June or not? Sometimes things go awry and people don't end up being here. The comments universally hate this deal, which makes me love it even more, Treasy. That's how I know I nailed it, because they're scared to get rid of Nolan Schultz. Look, we can't be scared. We can't be scared. If we want to get hitting, you're going to have to give up something, baby. And they're similarly ranked. I think Schultz is a little higher on most of the top 100 rankings, but there's risk involved in those arms, man, especially lefty arms, especially 6'9" arms. And so it is what it is. But I'm glad to see the dissension. And I agree with you, Treasy. When we put this out there on Twitter at some point or put it out in the blog, people are going to hate it. The Cubs fans will hate it, and the Sox fans will hate it.
The Cubs fans will be like, we ain't trading that guy.
We don't want him. How can you try and give us that guy? We don't want him. All right, next up, we're going to switch divisions now, Treasy.
All right.
Time to go to the Central, and you're up with Minnesota.
Oh, yeah, this one. So, again, Andrew Vaughn.
He's back.
So this is one of those things where it's a very unique position that a team is in, right? And so like the Pollard family has posted on Twitter that they're selling the team, but the team's not sold. So there is a for sale sign on this team.
Yep.
And from all accounts that I could find about the Twins and like real guys that know the Twins, like Aaron Gleeman, going like, they're not going to dump payroll, but they're not going to expand it at all, right? And so you think about everybody's going to get raises that are eligible players, because they have a lot of guys that are just core players on this team that are still there. And so there's guys that are just going to get raises, but they're losing Carlos Santana at first base, right? And that's a real loss for them. And now you could say Jose Miranda just slide in to first base, but Miranda plays third base for them too when Royce Lewis is out. And Royce Lewis is out more than they'd like.
I was going to say, that's often.
So having a guy like Andrew Vaughn could make sense for this team, and he's only going to make about $6 million, right? And you can offset that cost by sending Chris Paddock to us. We might just cut Chris Paddock. Like don't let the $7.5 million make you think I'm saying he's the next Fetty. No, I'm looking at him like he's the next Flexen.
He's just evening out the money.
if he don't work out, he's got to go. He's got to go. And so the guys that I'm actually looking at in this to get over to the team are Carson McCusker, which sounds, both of these names sound made up, which is part of why I loved it.
That's Carson what Gary Kern says. McCusker, sold, last name only.
Carson McCusker and Cody Lawyerson. Like both of those, I don't even believe those are real people. But Beef, I was saying, we're looking at these really tall power hitters. 6'8" power hitting corner outfielder. So tons of power potential, a lot of strikeout reality. And so
yes.
Very, very Soxy. But I love this. I love this quote from Fangraphs. So I just gotta read this quote to you about him. And it says, we think, where's it at here? We think this guy could play upper level pro ball forever, or be a KBO slugger. So
yes, my guy.
We might be getting Diane Vicieto.
I'll take it. I will take
really
it,
tall Diane Vicieto.
And then Diane Vicieto for Vaughn straight up is almost a fair trade. So I think we're killing it with this trade.
And Lawyerson's an interesting dude too. So Lawyerson is like not a high velo guy, but tons of commands, like 70 grade command.
Yep.
Out of Lawyerson. And this is another Fangraphs quote. But this made me think of Bannister. So it says, there's a good amount of funk in Lawyerson's operation. He has an extremely high front arm throughout his delivery, along with a compact herky jerk arm action. That sounds like a guy that Brian Bannister will go, yeah, I want one of those, please. So I think that there's a good amount of stuff that like is not super important to the Twins. They're probably not breaking into the into the lineup anytime soon.
Right.
But could fit with the Sox. Could be some good guys there. And then Andrew Vaughn, like I said, Andrew Vaughn kind of makes sense for them because they have other guys that hit home runs. They don't need to rely on him for that, so he can just be a doubles guy driving in runs. I think that's a great position for Vaughn. Like I think that as we look through this, I appreciate that. Like, while we talk a lot of crap about Vaughn because like he's in the lower half of first baseman, like hitting wise, like there's teams that could use what he does. Like there's teams that like have enough at the other positions that a guy who they know is going to go out there and play every day is a lot different than when they had Alex Kirilloff trying to be there and they just couldn't count on him to be healthy. Exactly. Like they'd rather have Vaughn doing like his average hitting versus Kirilloff, where it's like there's a lot of upside here, but he's probably going to be hurt.
They have too much of it. They would like the the reliableness of a guy who's never hurt like Andrew Vaughn is. Andrew Vaughn's always in the lineup. The other thing I think about with Vaughn, Trees, and I've tried this out before, is like, what if you used Vaughn more optimally? What if a team could afford to not play Andrew Vaughn every day and said, look, when these big slider monsters are out there, you're out of the fucking lineup. Guess what? When they got a lefty in there, you go in there and smash that lefty or whatever and find the better matchups for him and sit him 30, 40 games of the year that are the bad matchups for him. I bet you'd get more production. But the White Sox can't do that. They beat every single guy into the ground because they have to play them every day, including a guy that I'll trade later on in this where I'm like, he has no business being an everyday player, but maybe as a part-time guy, this could work out okay. And so like I think another environment might be helpful to him.
That's the funny thing with a lot of the guys on the roster. When you look at it and you go like, teams that don't need this guy to be the best player on the team can use this guy. Now, obviously, he's not going in there to be the best guy on the team, so the trade value is diminished.
Correct.
Like in this case, like we're taking back more money than we're giving out, which is not a Jerry thing. But it's only like $1 million, so I think
you might be able to trick him on this.
I think it'd be passable. We could be like, no, he's a starting pitcher.
Then he's caught before the season even starts.
his whole body's broken up.
I like that one. I'm a big fan of that one. I like the funky guy with the 70 command. I like having a 6'8" power hitter that might end up in the KBO. I mean, that's like a combination of Viciedo and Palka, and I love both of them. So that's perfect. And if he just comes in here, smashes, and then he stinks after that, that's fine. I love all that. So definitely worth the shot. And if the White Sox do end up retaining Vaughn, and making a deal before arbitration, I hope they do look to trade him. I hope they do look in down some of these avenues because I think there's some potential there at a couple of spots. Next up, I'm going to go with Cleveland. And so the Cleveland Guardians, I'm going to trade my guy who I think is going to be the White Sox opening day starter, Davis Martin. I'm going to trade Davis Martin to the Guardians for Ralphie Velasquez, who's a 6'3", 215-pound, 19-year-old first baseman, and George Valera, outfielder, former top prospect George Valera. Tracy, my thought here is that kind of the Guardians really struggle with starting pitching, and they don't have much in the cupboard anymore. Like they've kind of burnt out the days when they could like trade half-assed Corey Kluber and get Emmanuel Clase, and they would fill in right behind, and because they got all the starting pitching. That's dried up for them right now, so they can use starting pitching, especially extremely cost-effective starting pitching. And so Davis Martin, for me, is the type of guy that fits in on that. The return here is a funky return. You have to think about it from the perspective of Davis Martin doesn't have a full year of being good under his belt. He had a nice second half in 2022 when he got hurt. Then this past year had 50 innings that were good. So I think the return's might look light to White Sox fans that are like, oh man, Davis Martin's a good pitcher. But everyone doesn't know Davis Martin's a good pitcher, and they're going to just see a little bit here. So the return is Ralphie Velasquez, who is a first baseman already. The Guardians tried to play him at catcher when they first signed him, and it lasted all of one game. And they realized this is first base, left field. He does hit for power. He just recently got up at the end of the season, got up to high A. He had been crushing low A, but he got up to high A. So it's a project. He's 19. It's going to take some time, but a potential power hitter. George Valera You probably heard this name, George Valera, because George Valera was a top prospect for many years. And then injuries ate away at him, and you thought he was going to be like a mainstay in the corner outfield for Cleveland. And now he's at the point, Treasy, where he's 23. He's out of options. Cleveland had been playing him across all the outfield positions, and even what some of the reports I was reading, he can kind of cover center even a little bit. So Former was supposed to be a stud, and he's not gonna be able to even be on this roster. And at this point, at the end of the year, he had an injury in which he's going to be out 6 to 9 months with it. He had a knee injury, so he had to have surgery. And so that's going to have him being ready kind of either right at the beginning of the year or kind of like mid-season. And so this would be one of those, you'd grab the guy, you'd put him on the 26-man, 60-day IL him to get him kind of out of the way and stash him. To me, like the pedigree and all the weirdness that's gone on with him and kind of it not working out reminds me so fucking much of Carlos Quentin. Remember, Carlos Quentin couldn't anything work out, and then he came here and finally got an opportunity, and he actually hit. And these are the type of guys the White Sox need to take shots at, right? I don't know if the guy can hit. It looks like he still has power. He looks like he runs a little bit. I don't know if it becomes a guy or not, but more shots at guys like this for me. And with Cleveland struggling in the starting pitching, I know they're having a hard time, but go ahead and look at Cleveland starting pitchers. They got 3 people, Treasy, to throw 100 innings for them this year. And one of them was Cookie Carrasco, and he's cooked. He's done. So they have no starting pitching. Basically, they're in very bad shape there. I assume they're going to go cobble together starters cheaply. And so I would take a shot at this. Like I would take a shot at these. They're both long shots in there, but hitters. And yeah, it'll hurt to lose Davis Martin. I like him. He's my pick to be the starting pitcher on opening day. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like I thought about like, can we trade a guy like Davis Martin? Like, so I like this idea of taking a couple long shot guys. I really like the Valera idea. Like, I really like that idea. And it's just like, it's one of those things where it's like, we're going to find out next year if this was a good trade, right? Like, we don't got to wait around.
Nope.
Like, I mean, like you technically do for the 19-year-old, but the Valera thing is like, right away.
Once he's cleared up from the injury, then you're going to see.
Did this work? No, it didn't work. Or hey, wow, this did work, you know?
Yeah, when Davis Martin's 14-5 in Cleveland, you're like, fuck.
Oh my God.
Didn't work.
Very possible. Very possible. I think my next trade is in the same vein where it's like we could get beat real bad on this this trade. So I'll pull this up.
Let's do it.
So the Tigers trade. So I'm sending Benintendi. Now
yes.
I know people think I hate Andrew Benintendi. I don't. I just hated his first half production, and the fact that he's been a pretty bad left fielder his whole career.
Yep.
But he continues to be for the White Sox, and so Benintendi's a tough one to trade because you've got to find a team that is willing to take on that kind of weak defense in hopes of the second half of last season being real. And the Tigers might be that team because the Tigers, wow, did they have poor run production for a team that made the playoffs. Like,
yes,
I think they were like 21st in the league in runs per game. Yeah, I have it right there in front of me. 21st in the league in runs per game. And they made the playoffs. Like, so they have a good enough team to make the playoffs.
Right.
You insert a guy who can help you on the hitting side. That's huge for them. I mean, just even Andrew Benintendi getting back to being an average major leaguer in that lineup would be a boon, right? Like, so,
yeah.
So I'm looking at him going there. Now, it's $50 million over the next 3 years, right? Like, so that's a lot to swallow for that kind of production, like the expected production out of him. So you got to take some money back. So Kenta Maeda is coming back.
Hello, friend.
And I have this in the blog, Beef, but I said Kenta Maeda will make $10 million this year, and whatever team is paying that is likely the team that's going to cut him. So, yes. So Maeda is just a money. He's just a transaction. I don't want Maeda, nor do the Tigers. These next two guys, some interesting stuff here. So Trey Cruz looks like he's a super utility guy, right? He plays shortstop and center field, so he could play just like every position on the field. Good fielder. There's an okay hitter. You know, like not like it's not something that you should like go like, oh, this is guy. It's not like the guy where I was like, oh, there's like power profile. It's like Tim Beckham. Not quite that, but it's super utility guys. Super utility guys are useful, right?
Right.
But why they might be wanting to get rid of him? Just had Tommy John surgery in August, so he's Rule 5 eligible, which no one's gonna pick him up in the Rule 5. He's got just had Tommy John,
right?
But it is the kind of guy that you could bring on the team and put him on the 40, put him on the 60, right? Like, so you put him on the 40-man roster, then put him on the 60-day IL.
Yeah.
And that's a reasonable thing. But now let's get to the main guy in this deal, because this is my guy. And I want this guy so bad. Like, after I started reading through their prospects and I saw this guy, I don't care what we have to trade for this guy. We got to get this guy on the Sox. He can't be on the Tigers. RJ Pettit is a 6'8", 300-pound reliever that throws in the upper 90s.
Yes.
And like Beef, he was good last year. Like he's on his way to the majors, right? Like, so this is a guy, we got to get him right now. We got to get him from the Tigers right now. I hope that this trade works out so that we could get him. Because like, this is a guy that needs, like, this guy will retire a White Sox and then sit in the 108. That's the dream with this guy. Hopefully not in front of me. He's a little tall.
He's thick too, man. He is thick. On those cold days, you want him blocking the sun, the wind there, man.
My man will break one of the chairs. You think MSS took out that chair bad? This guy he'll go right through it. So
he'll demolish that. It's being emphasized in the comments. 300 pounds. That's a big point. Yeah, I'm reading this trade when we had him in the drafts. I was laughing. I was like, I need a 6'8", 300-pound guy coming out of the bullpen, man. I need a big, scary monster that throws high 90s like that. That sounds great to me. Maeda, the comments are saying he was a hot mess this past year.
Oh yeah, like
he may be. Like, he's
in the Paddock trade. I was like, you get Paddock, and then like you see if he could be your Chris Flexen.
Yeah,
Maeda, no, it's a sign and cut. It's like our trade cut. It's like an NBA deal. It's like an NBA deal. We're paying you $10 million to go home.
Now, Treasy, for the guy that was the super utility player, the Trey Cruz player.
Yeah.
Any word on how good the glove is in either of the spots?
It plays in both.
In both. Okay.
So that's from Fangraphs. They were like this. He was playing shortstop. And then they wanted to see if he could play center field too, because they just had a lot of middle infielders.
Yeah.
And he went out there, and the glove played in center too. And so Fangraphs is looking at him as like super utility.
Okay.
Is how he makes his way to the pros.
Yeah, I mean, see, like a player like this, the White Sox have none of these types of guys, and really could use some of these guys just to cover some spots occasionally, just on, play competent defense. The whole we're going to improve the defense always dies when one of the 2-3 good defenders gets hurt. You need these guys waiting in the wings to cover up for all that shit.
And for years we had Lurie Garcia, and like I know people like just only remember the very end of Lurie's career, but Lurie was very valuable throughout all those years. Like especially before the roster went to 26 and you only had just a couple bench players, like that was a super important guy to have on your team, because he could fill in at like every position,
just plug in any spot,
and had a reasonable bat, right? Like, so like I yearn for another Lurie. All right, I'm sorry. That's just how I am. And
everyone wants
I saw one.
Back.
I saw one. I want him. I want him, and I want the big boy. All right, and you can have Benintendi.
Future Lurie and Big Boy. That's an unbeatable trade right there. All right, let's close out. This is the very last trade, and this is mine. It's with the Kansas City Royals. And I am sending Lenyn Sosa to the Royals for Anderson Paulino. And so you're saying, Lenyn Sosa? Beef, you hate Lenyn Sosa. You don't even think he should be on the roster. Why are you trading Lenyn Sosa? Let me put his picture back up here. Here's the thesis behind the trade. The Royals had the biggest turnaround in MLB history, basically on wins. They went to the playoffs out of nowhere. Some savvy signings with the starting pitching, and they got enough offense from Bobby Witt Jr., mostly from Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez. The problem with the Royals, and this was a season-long problem, they were 26th in MLB with an 84 WRC plus against left-handed pitching. They just did not hit left-handed pitching at all. That's why they ended up with Tommy Pham kind of at the end of the year, and we're just like scrambling for any bats whatsoever that might be able to do some damage versus left-handed pitching. Guess what? Lenine Sosa, much like Romy Gonzalez, when he went away and everyone's, oh my God, Romy Gonzalez is good in Boston. Not really. He just hits left-handed pitching, and they only let him hit left-handed pitching. If the Royals were looking for a guy, cost-effective, can pick up a glove at multiple positions, not really good at any of them, but can pick up the glove at a lot of different spots and hit left-handed pitching, there's your guy. Lenine Sosa would be your guy. The return is not much. Anderson Paulino, it's a 100-mile-per-hour sinker, Treasy. There's some issues with command. He's 26. He's only gotten to Double-A. It would be one of these projects, like we were trying to tack onto a bunch of these deals. And like, for me, Lenine Sosa is such edge of the roster. I think that's kind of the max you're going to be able to get for a Lenine Sosa is some project arm that maybe you can kind of turn around. And so, what do you think about trading Lenine Sosa for a shot?
Just one question on Paulino. I'm not familiar with him. Is he alive?
Is he alive? Yeah, I believe so. Why?
Okay, then I'm in. That's it. I'll take anything for Sosa. Sosa's out of options. Like he might just not make the team. It's at that point, right? Like, so if we trade for any of the second basemen we've mentioned, then Sosa is gone. So yes, I'll take whatever you can get.
Even if they're 26 years old, only made it to Double-A, and 100-mile-an-hour singer, but can't find the strike zone.
I'm not going to be ageist here. All right, I think that's appropriate from the gray-haired man.
That's fair enough. Well, God damn it. Well, Treasy, thanks for making some fake White Sox trades with me. Remember, we ain't trying to be right on the show. We're just trying to understand. Anything you want to plug before you go?
Yeah, man, of course. From the 108 podcast every Thursday night. That'll be here on Halloween, so it should be a fun episode. And then in December, assuming Disney doesn't change any release dates, from a Southside point of view, should be back.
Ooh, okay.
When they release Skeleton Crew, and you could go to our merch store, 108.ing/merch, and get that beautiful Southside shirt. That is the Treasy special. That is the Star Wars Southside shirt. You need one. You need two. You need one in red. You need one in gold. So go out there, get those. Buy 6 of them. Buy one for every member of your family for Christmas, and then buy 3 more. All right, that's all I've got to promote. Just a few things.
It wasn't that much. Thanks, Treasy. Take care, my friend. See you soon. That was Treasy, and that was our first chance to make some trades with all of you. Next week's guest, you guessed it, it's going to be Treasy again. We're going to do this. We're going to roll back 2 more divisions. Should be a lot of fun. Thanks to Punky's Pizza and Pasta and all the 108 families up in the YouTube comments. Appreciate you smashing the like button, comment, and of course, drinks and tips. We'll see you Thursday for the 108 podcast. Bye, and I love yous.